Welcome back. You're with BBC News. Now, another development when it comes to the impact, the fallout of this ongoing conflict in Iran. President Zelensky of Ukraine says that Ukraine would be open to an energy ceasefire with Russia in a bid to help ease the Iran war oil crisis. Speaking after his recent visit to the Gulf states, he said that Ukraine's allies have urged him to scale back attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure amid this ongoing global fuel crisis. But Zelensky has insisted that the attacks would only end if Russia stops targeting Ukraine's energy system. So a lot to unpack. Let's cross over to Kyiv because BBC Monitoring's chief analyst Vitaliy Shevchenko joins us live now. So Vitaliy, we're not talking about a ceasefire when it comes to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, now in its fifth year, but just talk us through what is your understanding of what Zelensky's saying?
Well, Kaishu, as you will know, President Zelensky, all this time, the past couple of years, in fact, he's been saying that Ukraine is all for a ceasefire. Now it's up to Russia to stop attacking Ukraine, and then the fire will cease. So that is not something that he has not said before. The thing that attracted me in his remarks to journalists today was that countries which he called Ukraine's partners, or some of Ukraine's partners, has asked him to reduce Ukraine's attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure, because clearly as fuel prices are surging across the globe, this causes enormous concern everywhere. It's not immediately clear which countries he meant specifically, but recently the United States has eased some of the sanctions imposed on Russian oil because of the war in Iran. And Volodymyr Zelensky said, yeah, we can cease our attacks on Russia, but they need to stop attacking us first. And this is just one example of how the war in Iran affects the war in Ukraine, how these two wars are interconnected. Ukraine is getting much less attention, of course. Ukraine potentially is facing shortages of fuel. And I was on a Zoom call with President Zelensky on Saturday, and I asked him about how probable this shortage is. And he said, well, Ukraine's army has enough diesel, but for now, and he tried to secure more supplies of fuel during his tour of the Gulf states. So this war in Iran, it benefits Russia for now. It's making more money out of its oil, but also it opens some possibilities for Ukraine, such as offering drones, drone technology and drone expertise to countries in the Gulf. He also, the Ukrainian president said that Ukraine actually has experience in unblocking trade routes in the sea. A couple of years ago, when Russia tried to stop Ukrainian grain exports via the Black Sea, Ukraine successfully unblocked that trade route. So Volodymyr Zelensky said, well, this is the kind of expertise that will be useful potentially in unblocking the Strait of Hormuz as well.
Vitaliy, briefly, if you would, when it comes to the trip that Volodymyr Zelensky made to the Gulf states, it was fascinating to hear you say that the partners, the allies, are now putting pressure on Zelensky to stop targeting Russian oil energy infrastructure. But we know that Zelensky was trying to make new partners, new allies with Gulf states by sharing the expertise that they have. But he wanted caveats. He wanted security guarantees. Do we know whether he got any of that?
Not really. He spoke of, and I quote, historic agreements reached with the Gulf states. But when journalists prodded him, so what sort of agreements, what have you actually agreed? He said, well, no, we can't disclose any details. He only spoke about drones, help in protecting Ukraine against Russian missiles, and securing more fuel supplies from the Gulf.
Vitaliy, as always, thanks so much for bringing us up to date. Vitaliy Shevchenko there, joining us live from Kyiv. And it just goes to show just how interlinked the global situation is. And we're seeing the repercussions of this ongoing conflict.